Hello and welcome to South Asia Focus. I'm your host Swati Kundra. We begin the show by talking about the rising incidents of hate crimes all across the world. Recently, a 32-year-old Indian techie was killed and his colleague was injured after they were shot by a Navy veteran in Kansas City of the United States. Alarmed by the incident, the Indian government said it was closely engaging with authorities in various countries to ensure safety of its citizens. We have a report.
On February 22 evening, a white U.S. Navy veteran, 51-year-old Adam Purinton, opened fire in a Kansas bar and killed 32-year-old Srinivas Kochibhotla and injured another Indian, Alok Madasini. The Federal Bureau of Investigation is investigating the incident as a possible hate crime. At least one bystander told the Kansas City Star the gunman shouted, "Get out of my country," before shooting the Indian victims. The greatest Kansas City area is home to about 2 million people and an estimated 25,000 to 30,000 Indian Americans. To ensure safety of Indians living abroad, the government of India is closely engaging with authorities in various countries.
The government will remain very closely engaged with the authorities in other countries wherever the safety of Indians is concerned.
India's population living abroad is the largest in the world, with over 16 million people living outside the country in 2015. US President Donald Trump condemned the Kansas incident in his address to Congress.
Recent threats targeting Jewish community centers and vandalism of Jewish cemeteries, as well as last week's shooting in Kansas City, remind us that while we may be a nation divided on policies, we are a country that stands united in condemning hate and evil in all of its very ugly forms.
Alok Madasini, who was injured in the incident, attended a memorial service for Kochibhotla in Kansas along with friends and family.
One thing that I really wanted to emphasize is, the main reason why I'm here is that's what my best friend Srinivas would have done. Even if the pain was more, he would have been here for me, and that's what I'm doing right now.
The Kansas incident has again heated up the issue of illegal migration, which fuels in hate sentiments among the locals.
On March 3, another Indian seems to have become a victim of hate crime in the United States. Harnish Patel, an Indian origin businessman, was shot dead outside his home in South Carolina. Moving on, now we take you to Kabul in Afghanistan, which remains a target of Taliban. A series of recent attacks on the city points to a growing security challenge for the government and armed forces. We have a report.
Loud blast and gunfire sounds reveal the intensity of attacks carried out by the Taliban in the capital city of Kabul. The target was a police headquarters in the western part of the city. The blast sent clouds of acrid smoke billowing into the sky. Shortly after, a suicide bomber blew himself up at the gates of an Afghan intelligence agency branch in eastern Kabul. At least 16 people were killed and dozens wounded in these attacks, which were claimed by Taliban.
ما آمادگی خود گرفتیم تدابیر به خاطر از اینکه سلاح خود کشیدیم آماده دادم شوبه شدیم که اگر باز آهسته آهسته می‌خواستیم که از شوبه برایم که دیگه قرم بس کرد باز دیگه نفهمیدیم دیگه متوجه شدیم که در شفاخانه آوردیم.
The United Nations Security Council condemned the terrorist attacks in the strongest terms and urged states to cooperate with Afghan authorities to bring perpetrators, organizers, financiers and sponsors of such acts to justice. Afghan security forces are battling a resurgent Taliban amid record casualties and mass desertions as the fighters continue to escalate nationwide attacks even in winter months when the fighting usually wanes.
Repeated bids to launch peace negotiations with the Taliban have failed, and an intense new fighting season is expected to kick off in the spring. To speak more on the situation in Afghanistan, we are now joined by Mr. Nihad Ranjan Das, who is an expert on Afghanistan. Mr. Das, what are the challenges before the government and the security forces in Afghanistan as the Taliban has intensified attacks?
The Afghan National Defense and Security Forces (NDSF) is in a very fragile state of affairs, in the sense that the defense forces are not well equipped with the modern weapons and corruption, two things which is affecting the defense forces. European Union has constituted inquiry to find out the arms sale, which is the arms which is supplied for the Afghan security forces is being supplied to the Taliban. In fact, what it's doing, the arms supplied to Afghanistan is going directly to, indirectly to Taliban. Therefore, the Taliban is getting its power from the arms supplied for the Afghan forces.
Should the US and NATO member countries need to increase the number of troops in Afghanistan, what should be the strategy?
There are more than 13,000 foreign forces in Afghanistan soil, and their role is under the resolute support mission, they call it RSM, after the ISAF's withdrawal, is to advise and train the Afghan forces and we equip them to deal with Taliban effectively.
Well, thank you, Mr. Das. Now we talk about Pakistan, which remains a safe haven for terrorists, including Masood Azhar, the founder of banned Jaish-e-Mohammed outfit. India, the United States and many other countries want Azhar to be blacklisted by the UN Security Council. But China has blocked Sanctions Committee listing of Azhar as a global terrorist. Why? Let's see this report.
On December 13, 2001, heavily armed terrorists belonging to Jaish-e-Mohammed stormed the complex of the Indian Parliament, killing 7 people before dying themselves in an unprecedented attack on the seat of power of the world's biggest democracy. On January 2, 2016, Jaish-e-Mohammed terrorists attacked Air Force Station in Pathankot and killed 7 security personnel. India blames Masood Azhar, the founder of Jaish-e-Mohammed, for masterminding these attacks and wants the United Nations Security Council to list him as a global terrorist. However, blocking the UNSC from moving forward in this direction is China, which has twice imposed a technical hold on the Indian proposal. The Chinese Consul General in India's eastern Kolkata city said if Azhar's name is delinked from the Pakistani government or from its military, then China might reconsider its stance.
If you say he is supported by the Pakistani government, Pakistani military, then we have a strong reservation. If you remove that kind of a saying, that sentence, then we have no problem. So we encourage India and Pakistan to have negotiations to sort out this problem. And that's why, in a way, it appeared to be that China was blocking the listing, but actually that was not the case.
During his recent visit to Beijing, Indian Foreign Secretary Subramaniam Jaishankar held extensive interactions with top Chinese officials and raised New Delhi's concern over blocking of its UN proposal to have Azhar declared as international terrorist. Pakistan, which shelters Azhar and other terrorists, remains a victim of homegrown terror. If China fails to act now, it would bear the consequences.
Now the turn of Pakistan to declare him as a terrorist, recognize him as a terrorist and put him into the house arrest and launch an FIR against him, then only Americans will get satisfied. Otherwise, if this issue continues like this, I think the Americans will take it very seriously and Pakistan will have to face the consequences of that. Americans may put a ban on Pakistan.
Jaish-e-Mohammed has already been blacklisted by the 15-nation Security Council, but not its leader Azhar Masood. The blacklisting by UN Security Council leads to a global travel ban and asset freeze.
China shares the closest relations with Pakistan among its neighbors. With the launch of multi-billion-dollar China-Pakistan economic corridor, the relations between both the countries have been upgraded. To speak more on this, we are now joined by Ashish Shukla, an expert on Pakistan. Mr. Ashish, why Beijing opposes the listing of Azhar Masood as a global terrorist?
There is only one point which we can actually think of. There is a Pakistani connection here. At the behest of Pakistan, China is trying to block Masood Azhar being declared as a global terrorist. The world community knows about that Jaish-e-Mohammed leader is a known terrorist who has been involved in a number of terrorist attacks inside India, and now the attempt which Beijing is taking up, I mean, that is something which we cannot understand. Why Beijing is doing that? There is only one point we can think of. It is a Pakistani connection, and at the behest of Pakistan, Beijing is trying to block Masood Azhar being declared a global terrorist.
Pakistan itself remains a victim of its homegrown terrorism. Will China too face the heat in the coming days?
Pakistan says it is a victim, but I do not think that Pakistan is a victim. They are reaping what they had sown. So any country which actually uses terrorist organization as the strategic assets or foreign policy tools, they are going to have they are going to be some repercussion of that. If China is doing that, definitely they would face some kind of problem at their within their own country, the way Pakistan is facing at the moment. So there is no point that, I mean, at the moment we do not see anything like that happening, but we cannot rule out the possibility that China would not face such kind of problem which Pakistan is facing at present.
Well, thank you, Mr. Ashish. Now we talk about Gilgit Baltistan, the world's last colony, which remains under Pakistan occupation since 1947. Here, majority of people live in isolation and remain deprived of their basic human rights. The region is neither independent nor a province of Pakistan. We have a report.
A part of the erstwhile princely state of Jammu and Kashmir, Gilgit Baltistan has been under Pakistan's control since November 4, 1947. After 70 years, the region does not find any mention in Pakistan's constitution. It is neither independent nor does it have a provincial status. Gilgit Baltistan, which was earlier known as the northern areas of Pakistan, have an elected assembly and a council headed by the Prime Minister of Pakistan. The council wields all powers and controls the resources and revenue from the region. Islamabad has been exploiting the resources of Gilgit Baltistan, leaving the region in disarray. The youth here have no education, no jobs, and there is widespread poverty and underdevelopment. Pakistan is not only exploiting the water and other natural resources of Gilgit Baltistan, but is also letting China construct a multi-billion-dollar economic corridor through the disputed territory. This has sparked widespread protests by locals who strongly oppose the China-Pakistan economic corridor.
As per the United Nations Security Council resolution, Pakistan has to immediately withdraw its troops from Pakistan-occupied Kashmir and Gilgit Baltistan. To speak more on this, we are now joined by retired Colonel Wajahat Hasan Khan, who hails from Gilgit Baltistan. Mr. Wajahat, what is the status of Gilgit Baltistan, as it is neither independent nor does it have a provincial status?
Gilgit Baltistan, unfortunately, is not in Constitution of Pakistan. और गिलगित बल्तिस्तान जो है ये UNCIP की करारदादों के हिसाब से it is a disputed territory. It's not part of Pakistan. And moreover, Gilgit Baltistan should be given a status, political status, which has been promised by UNCIP, जिसमें गिलगित बल्तिस्तान should be given a local authority government with state subject rule fully enforced.
Why are political activists being targeted in Gilgit Baltistan by Pakistani law enforcement agencies?
अगर आप हकीकत पूछें तो my own father, Colonel Mirza Hassan Khan, who is known as hero of War of Liberation of 1947-48, was kept under prison and torture cell in worst Pakistani jails for 7 years. मैं खुद because of differences about Kashmir and Gilgit Baltistan policy by Pakistani rulers, और मैं खुद बड़ी दफ़ा जेल जा चुका हूँ, मेंटल फिजिकल टॉर्चर हो चुका है, और लास्ट ईयर even my younger brother Nader Hassan Khan along with other progressive and nationalist political leaders and workers, they just wanted to go to Gilgit sub-office UN to give handover of memo in a protest rally about fraudulent election and CPEC, ignoring totally Gilgit Baltistan in the planning, execution and whatever. Not a single leader was asked about CPEC, not taken into confidence. So they were arrested, they were kept 6 months in jail, tortured.
Well, thank you, Mr. Wajahat, for sharing your views on the situation in Gilgit Baltistan. Moving on, air pollution has touched hazardous levels in Kathmandu, becoming a serious environmental concern and a matter of public health risk. We have a report.
Dusty roads and growing traffic makes Kathmandu as one of the most polluted cities in the world. Outdoor air pollution has been a chronic problem in the bowl-like capital city, home to more than 3 million people. Air quality monitoring data of the Department of Environment showed the levels of PM 2.5, fine particulate matter, rose to 89.7 micrograms per cubic meter in Patan Tourist District, home to ancient temples and palaces that attract thousands of tourists. That compares with the WHO guideline of an annual average of 10 micrograms. Mushrooms of soil dust from road expansion, digging for laying drinking water pipes, emission from poorly maintained old vehicles and coal-burning brick kilns increase risks of cancer, stroke, asthma and blood pressure. Activists cite a WHO estimate saying air pollution caused nearly 10,000 deaths in Nepal annually, more than the numbers killed in the 2015 earthquake.
दिनदिनै जाम हुन्छ यो कहिले सक्ने यो रोड बनाएर के दुखिलो छ र काम गरेर खानलाई यस्तो दुःख छ धुलो मैलो गरेर.
About 2,500 vehicles older than 20 years went off roads in Kathmandu as part of the Himalayan nation's fight against the alarming air pollution levels. Activists say it's not enough and the government must enforce strict emission tests even for new vehicles and switch to environment-friendly modes of transport for long-term solutions.
The number of vehicles has been growing very fast. We have very limited road, but the number of vehicles is going very fast. The second, the major cause is the construction management, the quality of road, the construction of management of construction materials. Is basically soil dust.
Pollution is a new embarrassment for the ruling government headed by Prime Minister Pushpa Kamal Dahal.
Kathmandu Valley has limited scope for expansion and growing population, and number of vehicles on road causes a serious problem. Now we are joined by Dr. MP Dahal from Kathmandu. Mr. Dahal, what are the main challenges for the government to deal with growing threats of air pollution in Kathmandu?
Well, this Kathmandu is getting very densely populated recently, and the number of vehicles are also increasing. And recently the road works for the Melamchi water project. These are the main challenges at the moment, and also the rapid industrialization of the Kathmandu Valley. These are the main challenges, I think.
The valley has a limited scope for expansion. Should the government need to put some restrictions on the growing number of vehicles?
Of course, the government has to do some thing for the control of the pollution. The control of the vehicles is a good question or good job on the part of the government, and the government has to displace the old vehicles and to be replaced by the newer ones, so that there will be less pollution in the city.
Well, thank you, Mr. Dahal, for sharing your views. Now we take you to Goa in India, where a 4-day-long carnival attracted visitors from all over the world. The parade is an opportunity for revelers to soak in fun and frolic. Have a look at this wonderful festival.
The carnival was declared open by King Momo, who led the parade through the streets of Panaji amid cheers from the crowd. King Momo, or the King of Chaos, is the prime character of this extravaganza. The word Momo is derived from the Greek god Momus, the god of satire. Tourists who flocked from around the world got a glimpse of Goan culture and were left spellbound by the floats.
It's really bizarre, and I've never seen anything like this. It's really hot. It's really nice. It's cool to see so many different types of cars. It's very good.
The festive mood was more aggravated by the different varieties of parades. These parades were accompanied by live bands and dances.
It's good, it's pleasant, it's something different, and it's very vibrant. I've been in Goa for 4 years, but this is the first time I'm coming to experience the carnival. I see that they are coming up with a lot of issues related to society. So I've seen that, like I saw Reserve Bank of India, then I saw Stop Female Infanticide and other things. So it's a good way of like showcasing people like certain things about the society and like creating awareness. So far it's good. I'm enjoying, yeah.
Yeah, my experience of carnival is always fun. I mean, I'm really enjoying it thoroughly. So many beautiful carnivals, so many lovely colors, and I especially look forward to watching King Momo and his float and all the others. So I'm having so much fun. The party is just getting started. So Viva Carnival!
Carnival is celebrated in Goa since the 18th century. Meant to be a feasting, drinking, merry-making festival just before the 40 days of Lent, a time for abstinence and spirituality. The carnival is exclusive and unique to Goa and was introduced by the Portuguese, who ruled over Goa for over 500 years.
On that colorful note, I take your leave. See you next week. Goodbye and take care.